1991, Balmoral Castle grounds, Scotland. Saudi Crown Prince Abdullah bin Abdulaziz sits rigid in the passenger seat. Queen Elizabeth II behind the wheel of a dark green Land Rover. The speed climbing, 40, 50, 60 miles per hour on narrow estate roads. The prince's translator grips the door handle, knuckles white. Abdullah had just told British officials that women shouldn't drive. Now the Queen accelerates through sharp turns. No seatbelt visible. Royal protection officers trail behind in panic. Abdullah's face drains color with each gear shift. A narrow stone bridge ahead. She doesn't slow down. His hand braces against the dashboard. What happened in those 20 minutes changed his country's laws forever. The number you need to remember, 27 years until Saudi women could legally drive. The story starts decades earlier. 1945, Windsor. Princess Elizabeth is 19 years old and lying under a military truck, oil on her hands, learning to change a carburetor. World War II. While other royals remained ceremonial, she'd insisted on joining the Women's Auxiliary Territorial Service. No. 230873, 2nd Subaltern Elizabeth Windsor. She trained as a mechanic and military truck driver. Photos from that time show her in overalls, hands black with grease, grinning beside engines she'd just rebuilt. She was the only female member of the royal family to serve in the armed forces. The war ended. She became queen in 1952, but she never stopped driving. At Balmoral, her private Scottish estate, she drove herself, Land Rovers, always. No chauffeur. Royal protection officers grew accustomed to it, though it made them nervous. By 1991, age 65, she still changed her own gears, checked her own oil. That dark green steering wheel was hers, one of her few zones of genuine personal freedom. Nobody could tell the Queen to slow down. September 1991. Saudi Crown Prince Abdullah bin Abdulaziz arrives in Britain for an official state visit. He's heir to the throne, second in line, powerful and traditional. In Saudi Arabia, women cannot drive. It's illegal. Guardian laws require male permission for nearly everything: travel, work, medical care. Abdullah has defended these restrictions publicly. Our culture protects women through appropriate separation, he'd told Western journalists. British officials are briefed carefully. Avoid direct discussion of women's rights. The Foreign Office wants smooth relations, oil agreements, military sales. Don't embarrass the guest. The visit includes a private stay at Balmoral, a gesture of respect. The Queen's summer residence, remote and beautiful. It's September. The Highlands are golden, the protocols relaxed. Abdullah arrives with his entourage, advisors, security, a translator. Formal lunches, polite conversation. Everything filtered through translation, cultural gaps carefully managed. The translator's job is to smooth over differences, keep tone respectful. What neither the Foreign Office nor Abdullah's people anticipated was this: the Queen doesn't argue. She demonstrates. The lunch is formal. Balmoral's dining room, September 1991. Silver, china, staff moving quietly. Conversation flows through the translator. Estates, hunting traditions, the beauty of Scotland. At some point, Abdullah mentions women's roles in Saudi society. The translator softens it, but the meaning is clear. Women don't drive there. It's not suitable. The Queen listens. She doesn't debate. Instead, she suggests showing him the estate grounds herself. "I'll take you on a tour," she says. Abdullah expects a car with a driver. He sees the Queen walking toward a dark green Land Rover. She's already behind the wheel when he realizes his hesitation is visible. The translator glances nervously between them. The Queen smiles. I've been driving these roads for 50 years. Cultural courtesy overrides alarm. Abdullah enters the passenger seat. The translator climbs in back, clutching his briefcase. The engine starts. She adjusts the rearview mirror. Protection officers scramble to follow in another vehicle. The drive begins as a tour. It's about to become something else entirely. The Land Rover leaves the castle grounds, heading into the narrow estate roads. The Queen accelerates smoothly, then more. Abdullah notices the speed climbing. He remains polite. She is his host, his monarch. She shifts gears with precision. Mechanic's hands. The first sharp turn appears. She doesn't brake much. The translator slides at the back seat, grabs the handle above the door. Abdullah's expression shifts. Concern appears in his eyes. The Queen continues discussing the estate's history, her voice steady. The speed rises. 40 miles per hour on a narrow road. Fast for this terrain. The protection car is falling behind. Abdullah says something in Arabic. The translator leans forward. Your Majesty. His Highness wonders about the road conditions ahead. The Queen glances at him as a mirror. I know every stone on this estate. She accelerates further. 50 miles per hour now. The Land Rover's engine growls. Abdullah's hand moves toward the dashboard, then stops. Cultural reflex suppressed. He's never been in this position, passenger to a woman driving. In his country, it's unthinkable. Here, it's happening at high speed. Another turn. The tires grip gravel, spitting stones. The translator has gone quiet. The Queen's face remains calm. Focused. The wartime mechanic is back. Abdullah is beginning to understand. This isn't a normal royal tour. She's not slowing down. If anything, she's going faster. A stone bridge appears ahead. Narrow. No guardrails. He braces. She doesn't brake. They cross it at speed, smooth and precise. His breath catches. Releases after they're over. The first crack in his certainty appears. A woman is in complete control, and he cannot do anything about it. No lecture, no debate, just driving. The Queen continues her narration. That's the old hunting lodge, she says, gesturing. But the speed never drops below 45. Abdullah is torn. He cannot ask her to slow down. It would insult his host and a reigning monarch. He cannot exit the vehicle. It would cause an international incident. He's trapped by his own courtesy and her royal authority. And she knows it. This is the entire point. Another tight turn. Another gear shift. His knuckles are white on the door handle. The translator has stopped translating. He's just trying to survive. The Queen asks if Abdullah would like to see the river view. She heads toward a steep descent. Abdullah's face shows the realization. This is deliberate. They begin descending toward the River D. The road narrows further. The speed holds despite the incline. Abdullah finally speaks. The translator interprets. Your Majesty, His Highness suggests perhaps slower speed might be appropriate. The Queen smiles. Oh, I've driven this road thousands of times since I was a girl. She doesn't slow. The protection officers are radioing ahead. Protocol emergency. But the Queen is sovereign. No one can order her to stop. Abdullah is experiencing what Saudi women never could, a female driver in complete command. His entire belief system is being tested at 55 miles per hour. Another curve. Gravel spits from the tires. He closes his eyes briefly. Cultural shame and physical fear mix together. He opens them. She's perfectly controlled, watching the road, hands steady. The lesson is sinking in without words. Competence has no gender. She's made her point without a single argument. Just horsepower and highland roads. 20 minutes have elapsed. To Abdullah, it feels like hours. The Queen finally begins slowing as the castle comes back into view. Smooth deceleration. Perfect parking. Engine off. She turns to him with a small smile. "I hope you enjoyed the tour, Your Highness." Abdullah exits. His legs are unsteady. The translator is pale. Protection officers arrive, visibly relieved. Abdullah's entourage rushes to check on him. He waves them off, composes himself. He looks back at the Queen. She's still seated, still calm. Something in his expression has shifted. He nods to her. Respect mixed with shock. Later that day, there's a private meeting with British officials. Abdullah asks detailed questions. What are the accident statistics for women drivers in the UK? How do insurance companies assess risk between male and female drivers? The questions surprise the officials. They answer carefully. Women, statistically, have fewer serious accidents. Lower insurance premiums reflect this. Abdullah listens, says nothing more. The visit ends cordially. He returns to Saudi Arabia. He doesn't publicly discuss the Balmoral visit in detail. But something has changed. Palace insiders in Riyadh notice. The Crown Prince is asking new questions about women's capabilities. His advisors are confused. Why this sudden interest in driver statistics? In other countries' policies? What happened in Scotland? The translator's account begins circulating in diplomatic circles. Quietly. The Queen took him for quite a drive, British officials say, smiling. Those who hear the full story are stunned. 20 minutes at high speed. A silent lesson delivered without a single word of debate. Just a Land Rover, a monarch who'd fixed engines in wartime and narrow roads in the Highlands. The ride that would become legend had just occurred. The 1990s continue. Saudi Arabia's driving ban remains absolute. Women cannot drive. Period. The religious police enforce it strictly. Women caught behind the wheel are arrested. Foreign women can drive on temporary licenses, but Saudi women cannot. The official reasoning: religious tradition, cultural protection, social order. But quietly, things are beginning to shift. Abdullah's influence grows. In 2005, he becomes king. He begins cautiously reforming certain social policies. Education for women expands. Scholarships to foreign universities increase. Women are allowed into the Consultative Council in 2013. The right to vote in municipal elections comes in 2015. Each reform faces fierce opposition from conservative clerics. But Abdullah is persistent. Advisors report he uses one word often in private discussions: competence. We must recognize competence where it exists, he says. The Balmoral ride is never publicly acknowledged, but those present never forgot. British-Saudi relations improve during his reign. The Queen and King Abdullah exchange formal correspondence over the years. One letter from him reportedly references a memorable tour of your estate, which I recall with great clarity. Those who know the story understand the subtext. A seed was planted that day, planted at 60 miles per hour on a highland road. It's growing slowly, very slowly, but it's growing. By 2015, younger Saudis are pushing harder for reforms. Social media spreads ideas. Videos of Saudi women driving in neighboring countries circulate underground. The pressure builds. King Abdullah dies in January 2015. His half-brother Salman becomes king. Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman begins a rapid modernization campaign. And in 2017, the stunning announcement comes. Saudi women will be allowed to drive. Implementation date, June 2018. 27 years after that drive at Balmoral. 27 years after a queen taught a crown prince about competence without saying a word. June 2018. Saudi Arabia. Women line up at driving schools. They're giddy, nervous, excited. Photographers capture the moment. Women behind steering wheels legally for the first time in the kingdom's history. Some learn in Land Rovers, the same type of vehicle the Queen drove. News coverage is global. Saudi women celebrate. Western media frames it as dramatic reform. Conservative Saudi clerics grumble but cannot stop it. The law has changed. In Britain, diplomatic historians note the timing. 27 years. The Balmoral incident resurfaces in articles. The translator's account is confirmed by multiple sources. It happened exactly as described, says a former British diplomat. The Queen knew precisely what she was doing. It wasn't reckless. It was calculated. Some Saudi women learning to drive hear the story. They laugh, then grow quiet. She did that for us? One asks. Not exactly. The Queen had done it for herself, refusing to let discourtesy pass unchallenged, but the effect rippled forward. A crown prince had experienced female competence firsthand, terrifyingly, undeniably, and somewhere in his mind, the memory stayed. When reform became possible, perhaps that memory helped. Perhaps it made the idea less foreign, less impossible. We'll never know for certain. Abdullah never confirmed it. The Queen never spoke of it publicly. But the facts align too perfectly to dismiss. A 20-minute drive in 1991. A kingdom's law change in 2018. The mechanic princess who became queen had taught a lesson that took nearly 3 decades to fully land, not through speeches or diplomacy, through acceleration, gear shifts, and narrow bridges, through the simple, but undeniable demonstration. Competence doesn't require permission. It just requires a steering wheel and the will to grip it. Queen Elizabeth II died in September 2022, age 96. Obituaries worldwide mentioned her many firsts. First British monarch to reach a sapphire jubilee. First to send an email to visit China. To celebrate a platinum jubilee. Saudi media included a unique detail in their coverage. The Balmoral Drive. Now safe to acknowledge, both principals were gone. The story was framed as a legend of quiet courage and unexpected reform. Saudi women's driving schools began displaying her photograph, the mechanic princess who became queen, who'd taught a crown prince about competence using nothing but a Land Rover and narrow Scottish roads, who demonstrated that sometimes the most powerful arguments are delivered in silence, at speed, with perfect control. 20 minutes that terrified. 27 years. That transformed. One woman who knew exactly what she was doing. The Land Rover from that day still exists. It's kept at Balmoral, part of the royal collection. The steering wheel has been replaced over the years, worn out from decades of use, but the vehicle itself remains the same. Dark green, reliable, unchanged. Protection officers who witnessed the 1991 drive still tell the story. It's become part of royal lore. She was brilliant, one said years later. Never broke a rule. Never endangered anyone, not really. She just drove, the way she always drove, fast and confident. But that day, it meant something different. That day, it was a masterclass in making a point without saying a word. The translator gave his detailed account before he died. Every turn, every acceleration, every moment of the Crown Prince's visible fear. I thought we would crash, he admitted. But we never came close. She was in complete control. Always. 2024. Saudi Arabia. Women drive to work, to school, to pick up their children. It's normal now. Unremarkable. The way it always should have been. Some of them know the story of the Queen and the Crown Prince. Some don't. But all of them benefit from that moment in 1991 when a monarch decided to teach a lesson the only way it could be taught. Not through words, through action. The Land Rover's steering wheel sits in a museum now, part of the Balmoral collection. Worn smooth where her hands gripped it for decades. The same wheel that held firm through wartime service, peacetime drives, and one very fast diplomatic lesson. Visitors see it behind glass. Most don't know its full history. But those who do pause longer. They think about the mechanic princess, about the crown prince who learned something unexpected, about the 27 years between terror and transformation, about how sometimes change happens slowly, and sometimes it happens at 60 miles per hour on a highland road. The wheel stayed steady. The lesson stayed real. The story never stopped moving forward, just like she never stopped driving.